This week on The American Athlete.
I'm Chris Barnes, and you're watching The American Athlete. Chris Barnes, I'm a professional bowler, and we are at Fountain Bowl in Fountain Valley, California. I guess I watched bowling on Saturday mornings as a kid, and my dad bowled in a league, and he took me bowling when I was like 6 years old. Bowled on Saturday mornings for a long time and watched the guys on Saturday. It seemed kind of cool to do what they were doing, but it was probably till high school before I got any good at it. They say that bowling is the second largest participatory sport in the world behind soccer, actually. Other than that, more people bowl than anything else that they play. Now, a lot of it's recreationally, once or twice a year, but it's something that the more people do than almost any other sport. I went to Wichita State my freshman year. They do this 126 game qualifying thing on these brutal shots, and it's kind of a grind of attrition to see what you're made of. And I get through there, and wherever you finish is what team you're on. Well, I'm the last person to make the C team my freshman year. And I'm thinking, what am I doing here? I'm getting up at 8 a.m. for calculus class, and I'm bowling league 3 nights a week. I'm working 2 nights a week. I'm getting up every morning. I hate this class, and I'm not doing very well. I'm barely making the third and last team of the group. I'm like, why didn't I just play basketball? As fate worked out, I ended up working with Pat Henry, who just started coaching. He was from one of the best amateur teams around. We all kind of cut our chops in each other. I wasn't afraid to work. I just took the 3 hours a day I was playing basketball and just started bowling, and he started trying out all these different theories, and he ended up becoming a world-renowned coach. I was just lucky that he ended up being my coach. I went from the C team my first year to the second year I barely made the A team. Catapulted that, and 2 months later I make the Shoot for the Stars TV show, and I get to bowl against those heroes I was watching on Saturday morning with Mark Roth and Marshall Holman, and I ended up being an All-American in my sophomore year. I went from rags to riches pretty quickly. One of the entry-level skills that pros have that a lot of people don't is their ability to put a lot of revs on the bowling ball. There's oil in the lane, and typically there's a little bit more in the middle than the outside, so the more you can make the ball react to the dry in the lane or use the oil, then the more room you have, so to speak, to hit the pocket, which in the pocket's the head pin and the pin just right at the 1-3. And the more angle you can create there, you've turned the pocket a little bit wider, you've made it a little bigger and a little easier to strike. When I first went out in '98, I wasn't the highest rev rate, but I was in the upper tier at about 400 RPMs, maybe 420. Now, I am probably not in the top half, where the average rev rate is probably closer to 500 RPMs, and the top guys are 550 to 600. The ability to put revs on a ball and create area and make massive pin action, that's kind of all the things that go into basically being a top player.
Of course, executing at the top level is always challenging, but luckily for Chris, he has another expert at his own house. His wife, Linda, is a Hall of Fame bowler herself.
At one point in time, we were the, quote, first family of bowling. She's in the World Bowling Hall of Fame. She's in the USBC Hall of Fame. She's been on Team USA 10 or 11, 12 years, whatever it is. She's done pretty much everything. She's won the World Cup. She's won everything there kind of is to win. She's a psychology major. There's no doubt that's helped play a part, at least helping me deal with, I won 18 times out of 350 tournaments. You just don't get to win a lot. You get beat up a lot. And so she helped me through those tough times and how to figure things out. I think we were able to help each other out and contribute to each other's successes. So instead of having 2 individual careers, I think we made a pretty good team of it along the way.
This dynamic bowling family has had a lot of ups. But while out on vacation, they discovered one of their sons was suffering from a condition that affects millions of Americans every year.
I have twin boys. At 6 years old, Troy was diagnosed with diabetes. He was having a tough time, and he's having to pee a lot, and it turns out that was all a clue. We had no idea. There was no family history. So we got back, and the yearly check was coming up. We told them kind of what was going on, and they looked at us a little funny, and it turned our world upside down. Obviously his more than anyone. We got involved with the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation, and we started up our own charity, Strikeout Diabetes. Over about 5 years of that, raised basically $300,000, contributed throughout the years. And so hopefully there's some advancements and positive news on the front of maybe actually curing it long term.
As Chris and his family raise awareness about diabetes, he also plans to continue championing his sport and hopes to one day pass on the lessons he's learned.
I'm still involved with Team USA and still on the team, fortunately. They let pros back in about 10 years ago now, and so I've been back on the team for a while and coming to the end of my road there most likely. And I'd like to transition with the goal of being part of that coaching staff and maybe even head coach of the national team at some point. My expertise at this point lies in my knowledge of equipment and lane play, and when we do our clinics, that's where I focus on mostly. That's my field of probably expertise, and when you fail a lot, you learn a lot. So, I guess I should be better than most at it by now. I have a lot of faults for sure. I don't give up, and so I keep trying different things and keep trying to add enough tools, and you keep yourself competitive no matter what you're playing on. The strangest thing for me about the Hall of Fame was it's kind of the lifetime goal, and all these smaller things that I've been doing have been to get to here. And now that I get to call my quote-unquote peer group, which doesn't really feel that way, is those guys that I watched on Saturday morning, and they're still my heroes and some of the guys I respect most in all of sport, that I'm in the same class with them. It's been a little bit strange. It's been hard to deal with, but I've managed to find a couple of goals still that I want to accomplish, and that's kind of where I have to focus back on and still fight to be the best today and tomorrow and the day after. And even though the ultimate goal, I guess, has been fulfilled, there's still some of those smaller goals I'd still like to achieve before my use-by date is up.